Hey everybody, it's Rockula, and welcome back to Rockula Retrospective. This is the weekend re-review of The Walking Dead Episode 8, titled Coda. It is the mid-season finale, and we're gonna try to figure out, tie up some of the loose ends from this episode, and I'm going to make some predictions for what's going to happen in Episode 9 all those many months from now. So, the first thing that I want to say is that I am a little bit upset because the episode that I did, the live episode, the reaction video that I did with Meat Pie, evidently, my only guess is that the audio was too loud. It got taken down by YouTube and I got a copyright strike. I'm currently appealing that, and but right now that means that everything I do is down to uh, basically 15 minutes. So I have to, think about two things. One, I'll probably, if I don't get this back, that means I'm going to have to change my style to fit within 15 minutes. Now, that's a real bummer at first, but at the same time, it is a challenge. So I'm going to do a little more research into that and figure out how I can get my uh, restriction lifted. And please bear with me because I may have to split episodes into pieces and make more numerous episodes that are shorter. Well, let's get right to it. There is no explanation about how Rick just happened to catch Lamson. If I remember correctly, Rick and friends had supposedly headed out for the first contact with the guards, and there was an undetermined amount of time between scene changes, and I'm a bit fuzzy on how where Sasha and Officer Bob come in. What's the time frame in between those two incidences? Okay, so we're gonna come up on some stuff that Two Dead Girls talked about in their review, and that is when they had the exchange with Dawn, they should have had the female guard go first because they assumed that the male guard would be preferable to a female guard. But let me think about that a second. If we look at Dawn, yeah, a male officer may be physically stronger than a woman, but first of all, Dawn just proved to us that females can be just as good at fighting in that environment as men do. And I would even wonder if women maybe have an advantage in Dawn's eyes because they're not all rapey and stuff. So, yeah, I'd like to know what your opinion on that is. Do you think that the male officers are more valuable to Dawn than the female? I don't think that's necessarily true. Now, the issue that I have with Beth's death, and that is people lost their minds on Twitter when I mean, it's like the night that it happened, people were losing their minds. But when you think about it, and I saw it right away, Beth is the person that caused her own death. She did something rash and she caused her own death. She forced the issue by trying to kill Dawn with an ineffectual weapon. It was a highly charged atmosphere. And when you think about it, she's lucky that it didn't get everybody killed. Okay, now speaking of Beth's death, here's that whole situation with Maggie not acknowledging Beth. I went back and watched episode 1 of the season, and Daryl says they're in the railroad car, and Daryl says black car with a white cross painted on it. I tried to follow it. I tried. Maggie says she's alive, and Daryl responds she's alive in the affirmative. Now, I also went and looked up a bunch of, Maggie, can't believe that Beth's alive stuff. And most of it was memes. But then TV Line was interviewing Emily Kinney. And the question was, some fans are wondering why Maggie hasn't expressed much concern about the whereabouts of her possibly alive sister prior to tonight's episode. What's your theory about that? And she replied, it's a world where they're losing people a lot. And if you're going to survive, you can't sit around mourning for very long. And just because we don't see those scenes doesn't mean those are things that Maggie isn't going through. You didn't see a lot of Beth in season 2 or 3, but I was imagining all along what she was feeling and thinking. So just because we don't see Maggie being upset about where Beth is, that doesn't mean it's not on her mind. And you know what? I'm going to call BS on that. I'm going to search for more audio because I do remember at least one more piece of audio with Daryl talking about Beth, that she didn't know she was alive. She's just gone. So I'm going to find that for another episode. I'm going to search more of the episodes for the other Daryl audio that they used to refer to Beth. But it's clear that Maggie knew in the railroad car that Beth was alive. And there was some preview where Daryl said she's gone. So I can see how they can justify that, but that's pretty paper thin. I'm going to go look one more time for that audio and see if I can find it, but I just am not buying that explanation. One of the things that I wanted to mention is that I've kind of shied away a little bit from the real jaded viewers or reviewers, because I kind of like I said before, I like watching this show like I like watching wrestling. I just lay back and they entertain me, and if something is not to my taste, then I find something interesting to fixate on. And whether it's some boring episode where you can see a Bible verse in the back, or a Divas match where you're looking at their boobs or something. But that's the whole thing, is wrestling is just like this show, and I watch it because it's fun to watch. But the jaded reviewers do have a point. The older seasons, the first 3 seasons at least, were a little bit more character driven and a little more story driven. And it seems like they are doing a little bit more to pander to the average viewer right now. And I'm going to get into that in a further episode in the mid-season break. So here we go with a prediction. After the credit, Morgan picks up the map to DC with Abraham's note to Rick on it, and we are led to assume that he will now head towards DC as well. And when you flash back to Noah and Beth in the hospital, he told Beth that Richmond had walls. And when you watch the sneak peek for episode 9, you have Michonne saying, "We're 100 miles away. What if it's someplace that we can be safe? It's a chance, instead of just being out here, instead of just making it." And Rick says, we're going to do what we wanted, we're still doing, and that we're going to survive. But I predict that they will actually head towards Richmond, Virginia. And this is where my 2 predictions are going to come together. If you look at a map from Atlanta to Richmond, Virginia, you take Highway 85. Now, to get to DC from Atlanta, you take Highway 85 to Richmond, Virginia, and then from there you take 95 to DC. That means that Morgan and Rick's group will meet on or near highway areas, because they will likely encounter the same difficulties and diversions along the way. Okay, so that was a quick re-review for the weekend. There's not a show for you to watch on Sunday night to tie up, so I just figured I could do something fast and try to work within this 15-minute limit until I get my ban lifted. I want you guys all to know that I'm going to be doing a ton of episodes during the mid-season break. There's going to be at least one tag video, if not a couple, depending on how many people will participate. I already have, I'd say about 5 or 6 reviewers that are going to participate in the tag review, the tag episode. So what I would like for you to do is, if you're not a reviewer but you want to participate, when the tag episode does come out, you can, by all means, you can make your comment down in the comments, and everybody is welcome to do so. So, all right, I'm going to do that tag episode, invitational episode, on Monday night. So please come back and check that out. I'm Rockula, and this is Rockula Retrospective.